Okay, so today I'd like to talk about changes for effective organizations for my portfolio project. So I'm going to start with a little basic company information. This is a small engineering firm that's been specializing in environmentally friendly products, currently operating with a hierarchical organizational structure. We've been struggling to meet our goals for the last 6 months and operating at a loss for the last 2 months. As a result of that, we've seen an increase in employee turnover due to employees worrying about the security of their jobs. And we were offered a large contract that could have the potential to turn our business around. But our current conundrum is, should we accept this contract, and how can we change our organization to improve its effectiveness? So the first thing I'd like to start off with is organizational structure. So I'm going to recommend that we implement a flat organizational structure. So 3 levels, that's all we've got. So executive leadership at the top, team leaders, and then team members. We're just going to keep it nice and simple to keep our channels of communication open. So something about our executive leadership team is it's going to be comprised of each major facet of the company. So we're going to have someone from product operations, product relations, which would be sales, marketing, HR, accounting, and then research and development. So team leaders will report to their executive leaders for their department, and then team leaders will supervise team members and any potential interns we have based on their positions and levels of expertise. So why are we going to use a flat organizational structure? Why did I decide this? So based on Aries 2015, there are 4 major benefits of a flat organizational structure. So cost efficiency is your first benefit. There's fewer middle and upper level management, which results in fewer costs because you're paying less people. Promoting faster decision making. So fewer channels of communication for communication to travel through to get to executives, but also to get to employees. So there's just a direct line of communication between team members and executive leaders. Clear communication. So communication doesn't get passed through multiple channels, so it doesn't get muddled, exaggerated, or hindered within levels of management. And then finally, it requires less dominance and supervision. So a lot of times with a flatter organizational structure, team leaders and executive leaders can delegate and then just be available for questions and feedback. They don't have to micromanage and hover as often. Aries actually recommends that flat organizational structures are the most beneficial for small businesses. So an internal communication plan. So if we're going to make all these changes, obviously we have to be open and honest with our employees because they understand the state our company's in right now. So the first step of that would be meeting with the executive leadership team. So we want to meet with them, reiterate the problems our company's facing, explain our plan of action for the organization, and then explain the impact that these changes will have. Explain how they're going to improve our organization and how they're going to enable us to handle a large contract. The next step would be a state of the union with all employees. So explain the problems we're facing. We're going to be really open and really, really honest because at this point we have to be. Explain the potential contract we've been offered and the impact of getting this contract, and then explain the plan of action to improve our business. And finally, what we'll do is we'll live stream this entire State of the Union, but then we'll also turn it into a video so it could be viewed at a later date. Third step is going to be a memo to all employees. So send out a memo summarizing the State of the Union in case someone prefers to read it instead of hear it, and then include a link to the video of the State of the Union. Fourth step we're going to talk about is creating a video presentation. So create a video explaining the organizational changes with a timeline. Kay Lockley in 2017 actually states videos are an extremely effective method of communication. 1 minute of video content is in fact worth 1.8 million words, or the equivalent to 3,600 pages of text. So use videos because it's the most effective way to communicate. Fifth step is going to be a question and answer opportunity. So create a survey that allows employees to submit questions to the leadership team. As a leadership team, meet weekly and read and respond to all of the questions, and then any questions and answers that are appropriate to be shared with all employees will be posted on an internal website communication as FAQ, so all employees can learn from them. Sixth step is going to be a feedback opportunity. So encourage the open door policy for all management and leaders. Encourage team members to come to them with their concerns, their feedback, ideas about the organizational changes. Share any of the valuable insight you gain with the executive leadership team, of course. So our external communication plan has 4 big steps. Number 1 would be deliver messages where people are already seeking information. So Giesbond 2017 recommends this. So leverage social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Glassdoor, Twitter. And don't tell people where they can go to find a message. So don't say, hey, go to our website to look. Just post it on Facebook. Just post your message so people see it. Find where people are and deliver your message there. So then use real people. So your executive leaders are the first avenue of communication and your employees are your second. So Giesbon recommends leveraging the power of employees to share their stories both internally and externally. So when you're releasing these videos, talk with employees, interview employees, understand how they feel, and release those to the public because you're going to gain more buy-in. So then obviously do a formal press release, just so everything is out in the open and for the press, and then interact with the public and the press. So respond to reviews, questions, comments on social media, be active and engaged on your social media, and then respond to interview or comment requests from the press. Like interact with the press so you can get as much information out there as possible. So the decision-making process I'm going to recommend is actually a 7-step process. It was developed by Husang in 2017. So the big 7 steps are going to be identify the decision, gather information, identify alternatives, weigh the evidence, choose your alternative, take action, and then review your decision. So I'm going to go into each of these in a little more detail. So the steps 1 and 2, identify the decision. So recognize the problem or opportunity and decide to address it. And then determine why the decision matters. So how is this going to impact us? Why do we need to spend time making this decision? Step 2 is gather information. So gather facts and information to base your future decision on, and actively seek out people to help you gather this information or even to provide information. So steps 3 and 4 is provided by Husang in 2017. Identify alternatives. So identify various possible solutions and have a wide range of options. So then step 4 is going to be to weigh the evidence. So analyze each option and consider feasibility, desirability, acceptability, and potential consequences. So essentially weigh the pros and cons of each option. Steps 5 and 6 are going to be choose your alternative. So make a decision about which alternative you want to pursue, and then be sure you know all of the relevant information and potential risks about the alternative you've selected. Step 6 is going to be take action. So create a plan for implementation of your alternative, identify what resources you're going to need, gain support from stakeholders and employees, and then be prepared to answer questions and concerns that arise. You're going to get feedback and you need to be open to it. Finally, step 7 is going to be review your decision. So Husang recommends, number 1, evaluate if your decision is effective. What went well? What could be improved? Would you do it again? So just make sure you take time to actually do step 7 and evaluate that decision, because if you're ever faced with a similar situation in the future, having already made a decision that worked out might prove really beneficial for you. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is the problem-solving process I'd like to implement, which is a 5-step problem-solving process. It was created by Figilolo in 2014. So step 1 is going to be pin the problem. Step 2 is identify the issues. Step 3 is to generate hypotheses. Step 4 is conduct your analysis. And step 5 is to advance your answer. So we're going to go into each of these in a little greater detail. So step 1, pin the problem by Figilolo 2014. Clearly define the issue at hand. So you have to know the problem you're trying to solve in order to solve the problem. Look at the issue from multiple perspectives. So consider it from an employee perspective, customer's perspective, leadership perspective, and then understand causality. So don't just work to solve the symptoms, work to solve the root causes. That is truly where solving a problem effectively lies, is in that you don't just treat the symptoms, we treat the cause. So step 2 is going to be identify the issues. So again, Figilolo 2014, break down the problem into subcomponents, identify symptoms and root causes. So like I said in step 1, you really have to be able to identify if it's a symptom or if it's a cause. And then understand causality. Don't solve the symptoms, solve the causes, because treating a symptom is effective in the moment, but long-term it is not a solution, and you're going to be in the same place you are right now in 2 months with the same problems. So step 3 is going to be generate hypotheses. Again, Figilolo 2014. Identify possible solutions for solving the issues you've identified, i.e. hypotheses. And then prioritize your efforts. So focus on hypotheses that have the highest ROI or return on investment, and focus on what will be meaningful. So don't focus on hypotheses that are so far out there and so far out of the blue that they're probably not going to be practical and effective when you implement them. Focus on hypotheses that could actually be a solution. Step 4 is going to be conduct your analysis. Again, Figololo 2014. Analyze your solutions and then attempt to prove or disprove your hypotheses. So analyze these and try to tell people why they will work and why they won't work. Finally, step 5 is advance your answer. Again, Figololo 2014. So transform your hypotheses into a clearly worded recommendation, provide your core analysis as to why this is the best reason to pursue, and then help your audience understand. No, they need to understand what the problem is, so root cause, why we need to solve it, so the impact the problem is having on the company as a whole, and then why my recommendation is ideal. So this is when all of your proving and disproving of your hypotheses comes into play. You need to be able to prove to these people that this is where we should focus our efforts. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is a managerial approach. So the managerial approach I'm going to recommend is a democratic approach. Democratic approaches are defined as offering employees the opportunity to participate in decision making. So that's by Grace College 2016. Decisions are made by a majority vote. So communication flows both from employee to executives, executives back to employees. This is really helpful, I think, if you are making big organizational change, because employees need to have a voice. Like, they are already nervous because their entire organization, everything they know is changing. And so they need to be able to have a voice. They need to be able to be informed in order to buy in and keep their engagement levels high. Drawbacks to potential managerial approaches that are democratic are they can be slow. So decision making can be slow when you're involving everyone, and they can be inefficient. So finally, we're going to get into leadership styles. So this is really the core of this whole thing, is how you're going to lead this change. So I'm going to recommend a situational leadership style. Situational leadership styles are ideal because it enables you as a leader to adapt to the situation you're in and what your followers need. So that's from McMurray 2017. So I'm going to go into situational leadership in a little bit more detail here. So situational leadership can essentially be broken down into this chart. You have 4 types of followers, and they either have a high or low confidence ability, and then either a high or low actual ability to do whatever task you're asking of them. And then that ties to the appropriate leadership style. So there's 4 leadership styles: selling, telling, participating, and delegating. And I'm going to go into those in greater detail here. So let's say we're going to talk about followers. So you have 4 types of followers. So R1 is your first follower. It's a follower that's a low confidence, low ability. It's typically associated with like the new employee. They're unwilling, unable, or insecure. So they just don't really know what they're doing yet. So they're going to need a lot more leadership. The second type of follower is going to be R2. So high confidence, low ability, the progressing employee. So you're still not able to do all of your job responsibilities independently, but you're more confident and you're more willing. So you're growing. Step R3 is your third category of follower, and it's low confidence, high ability. So this can be broken into 2 aspects. So you have your recently promoted or your retired in place. So for recently promoted, they're able to do their job, obviously, because they were promoted, but they're hesitant in their new role. So they're just not as confident as they were previously. Retired in place often happens with very tenured employees who are doing the bare minimum just to get by until they retire. So they have the ability, they just don't really care. Your fourth kind of follower is your ideal follower. So it's your high confidence, high ability, the ideal employee. So this is an employee that's able to complete tasks fully. They're confident in their abilities. They're really able to kind of just pick up the ball and run with it. This is what we're looking for. This is what we try to develop our employees into. So all of this information came from McMurray 2017. So now I'm going to discuss leadership styles associated with those types of followers. So again, all of this comes from McMurray 2017. Your S1 leadership style, which is telling, is high task guidance, low relationship focus. So your leader gives explicit directions and they closely supervise performance. So this is associated with your first kind of follower, that new employee that has low skill level, low confidence. Step 2 is selling. So this is high task guidance, high relationship focus. So the leader's selling their ideas to the group by explaining and giving directions in an educational or persuasive manner. So this is going to be your second type of follower. This is the follower that has a high confidence but a low ability. So your progressing employee. Your third leadership style is going to be participating. So it's low task guidance but high relationship focus. So this is focused on shared ideas and decisions. So this is going to be your third type of follower, probably your newly promoted. So they have the ability, it's there, but you need to focus on your relationship with them to build their confidence up. The fourth kind of leadership style is delegating. So low task guidance, low relationship focus. Essentially, the leader is going to allow the group to take responsibility for task decisions, take ownership of their work, empower them to lead on their own projects, make their own decisions. Again, this is with your ideal employee, your fourth kind of follower. So overall, the benefits of your situational leadership is that you as a leader adapt. And in a changing environment, you need to be able to adapt to what your employees need, what your followers need to be successful. So just my overall recommendations as kind of a summary here. We're going to adopt a flat organizational structure. We're going to implement a thorough internal and external communication plan. We're going to utilize a 7-step decision-making process, utilize a 5-step problem-solving process, practice democratic managerial style, and then practice utilizing situational leadership. Overall, I think if we pair all of these together, the organization really can flourish, and they can definitely handle that large contract that has the potential to really turn the organization around. I'm going to leave you with my references, and I really enjoyed explaining this to you today. Thank you.